Evening by Karen Branscove, who's part of our ADI help desk. If you've ever called us here, as many members do on a regular basis, for advice, to run something past us, or to get some information, you'll recognise her voice as well. Karen is a working ADI, so she's at the coalface of what you guys are trying to do too. So she's going to chip in, probably correct me in some of the things I say tonight about marketing on the ground, and offer the ADI perspective as well. I have skewed this presentation in response to the questions that we've got. So I'm going to start off with online marketing because that's where I've got the majority of questions, but I will do some stuff on offline marketing towards the end as well. We've got quite a lot of slides, there's quite a lot of information, but you guys are going to be able to take this away afterwards, this presentation, and go through it in more details. And if you've got any queries any time or any ideas you want to run past us about marketing, I'm part of our helpline as well. So is our experienced marketing manager. We're not here just to promote DIA. Our job is to help you promote your business. So don't hesitate to call us also about your marketing matters too. And we hopefully will give you some advice and guidance, but also share what works with us for you guys yourself. I'm going to go into the presentation now, and we'll go into some further questions as we go along. But those of you who sent me questions in advance, hopefully you'll see that I'm trying to answer those as we go through the presentation too. So bear with me. I'm going to go a bit fast. Okay, so online marketing, that's where we're going to start, because this is where we get a lot of questions on how can I promote my business better? How can I have more of a presence online? Some of the key online marketing channels for AGIs or larger driving schools are quite obvious, but we'll go through them anyway. They're your own website, online advertising tools such as Google Ads, display advertising and editorial content on other people's websites, so you being in someone else's website to try and reach the audiences that they already have that you might not have. SEO, SEM, basically, for those of you who are aware and those of you who aren't, we'll go through it again. Search engine optimization. That is answering some of the questions people have about how they get higher in the rankings of Google and are coming up on more relevant searches. And search engine management. How do you manage being in all the places that you should be to be seen by your customers? Social media is a key online marketing channel. Some driver trainers are very engaged in social media. Some are just starting out on that journey. No one is an expert on this area. Even people I know who work for Facebook and Twitter are not absolute experts yet, because it changes all the time. So everybody's in the same mode of learning more about how they can use social media. Directory listings, things like Yell and Find a Driving Instructor and all those kind of listings that you could use as well. And e-marketing campaigns. What kind of campaigns can you be doing online to attract new customers and new audiences? So we'll go through those in part across this whole presentation. But those are what we think are the key online marketing channels for people like yourself running small businesses, trying to attract people locally and sometimes nationally, depending on what area of training you're actually in. Now, some of the most frequently asked questions we get in terms of digital marketing are, how do I get started on the web? How do I get to the first page on Google? How do I use Google AdWords? How do I use that social media that everybody else seems to be doing better than me? How do I generate more business via the internet as a whole? So we'll try and answer some of those questions as we go through. How do I get started on the web? Pretty obvious solutions here. Get a website is one of the first things that we advise people who haven't actually got themselves on there now. For those of you who are on the web and are doing exciting things with your websites, apologies for teaching you to suck eggs here, but we have a diverse membership here and not everybody is actually even online yet. There's various ways of getting started on the web. You can do it yourself. There's various online build your own options, and you don't need to be a web programmer to use a lot of these applications. I'm not a web programmer. I've had responsibility for building large and small websites, but actually I've used tools from scratch and they're very easy to get your head around. There's some kind of standout examples of things that you can use there. There's Wix, Moonfruit, GoDaddy, One-on-One. There's lots of big brands that if you Google, you will find out a bit more about them from both consumer users and from the companies themselves about how easy they are to use and what they're there for. They come with really easy to use guides, and there should be no fear about going into these things because they use really, really easy navigation. Some of the same rules, though, about designing your own website apply if you're working with a web designer. So look at how to kind of articles. Google how to build the perfect website or building a better working website, because as much as you'll need that building your own, if you're going for the second option of paying someone to build it, you should be savvy about what they should be delivering to you. So know what you're supposed to be ending up with and how that's supposed to work. You could actually get somebody else to build it for you, as I just mentioned. I'm going to go through quickly what we do. Of course, other providers are available. We've just started a web design service at DIA, mainly because we get so many queries from people about getting out of web contracts where they've obviously overpaid for under delivery in a web contract, and they've got a very shoddy site that costs them a lot of money and they don't know what to do with it, or they don't know who to choose, and lots of companies are calling them and they just don't know what's the differentiator. We, like a lot of companies, will design, build and maintain a site from scratch for a driving school. We can design and deliver it, which means that you manage it once we've set it up with some guidance from us about how you do that. Or we can design, build it, and we can look after it for you. And that starts from as little as £149 for a one-off website and £15 a month for us to manage it. We also do advice on SEO, copywriting, branding, so creating a logo for you. We can do that as part of that, and we can purchase domains as well. That is more or less what a lot of companies will actually do for you. So when you're looking to buy a service like this, that is around about the pricing that you should be paying for this kind of service. We searched the market and looked at the pricing, what we thought was reasonable. We came up with our pricing. I hear horror stories of people paying thousands out for a website. In this day and age, you really don't need to do that. Even when I worked for a global bank, we weren't paying that kind of money for that, and that's a very complex website. This isn't a very complex website to build. So I would suggest to people shop around for those kind of deals, or come to us for advice. You don't necessarily have to buy our package, but we can certainly give you advice on what you should be looking for in other people's as well. So there's two ways you can get started in building your own website and building your own web presence, and that's just about physically putting yourself on the web and having a new website. If you're already online, as a lot of people are, you should be keeping a view on what your website is actually doing. I think Googling yourself, although it sounds unhealthy, is actually incredibly healthy, because you need to know how you place in the rankings. You need to know whether you're even showing up, whether you're showing up in the right places, and whether you're showing up under relevant searches. You also should be keeping an eye on your local competitors, where they're showing up, and seeing what they're doing. Are they coming up higher than you? What are they doing that makes them come up higher in the rankings than you? What are they actually saying on their websites? And is it wrong? Is it stuff that you need to be saying on your website? I think you should be looking regularly at yourself and your competitors online, because it's a very important part of research to develop your business. We need to also look, when we're running a website for business development purposes, at the important point of where do we come up in that search. It's not always just about getting on the first page of Google. It's also about what pages on Google you want to be coming up on. People think the most important thing in the world in this particular industry is to come up on the first page in Google and the first rankings for driving instructor Croydon, and that is important. But people that your customers aren't always searching on those terms. It's worth doing some research with your customer base, with your friends, with your family. What would they type into that box in Google to find a driving instructor locally? Because it's not necessarily always what we, as the people marketing, think the customers are doing. You also want to take into point of view that they might be looking on different searches. So coming up on just one search term page at the top of Google is not sufficient. There's lots of search terms people use. They will return different search terms on the combination of words, and it's about being placed in those pages in the right places as well. So run some searches on Google on your company name, on driving instructor in your area, on learning to drive in your area, on learning to drive in your postcode. There's lots of different combinations that people will search for you. So you'll come up on lots of different pages in lots of different positions.
The other thing to consider is your speciality and what you perhaps do. That might be a unique selling point, and there might be something specific that you offer. Maybe it's a lady instructor, or maybe it's a speciality that you do, that if you search on that, you'll find that nobody else in your area is actually coming up on the search. So that might be something as a keyword you want to put into your website so that it does come up.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, Karen. And I can see a lot of times that people aren't specialising in their search. They are putting very simple search terms in there, like driving instructor Croydon. What we think is what people are looking for is not always the case. And even as a marketing person, I do a lot of consumer testing to find out what other people think. I will often search for older driver lessons, lady driver, as you say. People want different things from different instructors. Intensive lessons, if that's what you do, are you coming up on those searches? People with diverse needs or driving with a disability. You know, where is your market, where is your customer, and how are they searching? It's important to understand that before you look at how you perform in Google, and make sure that those keywords and phrases are on your website somewhere. You need to be talking about the services for Google to find you. and Google is reading your site like a human being would be reading your site for the first time and looking for the things that it likes to look for. So it is made up of complex algorithms to get you there, but Google is basically simulating human behavior and trying to bring to the person who's searching the most relevant website. So you need to examine your website to understand whether it's got all the relevant text in there, all the relevant phrases that are appealing to the searches that people are actually putting in. So if people are putting in, where is my nearest older driver instructor or something like that, making sure that you reflect those services and are answering those questions in the copy that you put on your website and embedding them in there. Have a look at people who are doing what you do and seeing if there's anything that you can borrow from them. I think anybody that pretends they create things that are wildly original are deluded. In marketing, we would borrow 99% of what we do often from other industries, other marketing people, and looking at other industries, how they market themselves, plus those in yours, is interesting in terms of developing your presence as well. And it's looking at the weaknesses and strengths of other people's websites and seeing where you can plug those gaps and plug those weaknesses, and where are your strengths that you can push forward on that as well. So do a bit of competitor analysis at the same time as looking at where you are. The other important point, sorry, Karen, I'll just, before I forget this one, because we always focus on the positives, not on negatives, and I'm not scaremongering here, is Googling yourself gives you an indication of if there's anything negative circulating about you on the web and where you're appearing in a positive and a negative sense. You might think you're only on the web because of your Facebook page and because of your website. You might find your name or your driving school's name is cropping up elsewhere. And a simple, regular Google search will show you where you are being referenced, where you're being talked about, and you can decide whether you like that or not and what you want to do with that information as well. Sorry, Karen.
No, that's right. So just saying that when people see you out on the road as well, they may not remember your website on the side of the car, but what they will remember is the name of your company. And if it's something easy to remember, they'll go back and Google that. So think about that when you're thinking of a company name. If you just call yourself something simple, when they Google that, they're going to get lots of options coming up. If it's something simple and striking, you'll come up pretty quickly on the search because it'll be something remembered.
And branding that is linked is very important. I've actually seen quite a few driving instructor cars out there that have a completely different web address than the branding. And as that car flashes past, and I'm an extreme Googler, as soon as I see something, I go to my iPhone and I look something up if I'm interested. If that branding does not match the website, people will struggle to find you. So if your company name is something but your website doesn't match up, Google's not going to match that up either for them. So those things need to match up. If they see you flashing past, they've got to be able to pick the name off as it flashes past. They don't have time to read the website. That all has to match up as far as Google's concerned on your website as well. So those key terms using your branding on your car have to match what's in your website, even if the web address does as well. There's loads of websites out there. That's what this title is about, Tree Falls in the Forest, but does anybody actually notice there's tons of them out there? 97% of consumers do search for local businesses online, and will they find you? Because people realise that this is an attractive marketplace to do their marketing, and everybody and his dog is on there trying to get business out of it. So you need to work even harder now to actually be found. You can build a great looking website, but its content and you can be invisible to search engines unless you do some stuff to promote it. Search technology itself relies on key metrics of relevance and importance. Going back to just what I was saying, Google is a very complex set of algorithms, but they're designed to do one thing, to ape human behavior. It's there to deliver the information that the human being is looking for in the most concentrated and quickest way. So your website has to be able to answer those needs. You need to be thinking like a human, not like Google is, because Google's doing the same thing. You need to think that, am I giving the person looking for my information that information in the quickest, clearest, and most sensible order, and in the quickest, clearest way? So if they are looking for price, sadly, some people don't like advertising their pricing, but it's one of the things that Google will be looking at is if people are looking for price of driving lessons and you haven't got anything about pricing, even if it's just some blurb about how you price rather than physical pricing, you might drop out of the rankings. If people are looking for specific postcode areas and you cover it, but you're actually talking about the town names rather than postcodes, and they're searching by postcodes as people increasingly do, Google might knock you out of the rankings or knock you down them because you haven't got that relevant information in there. So again, it goes back to doing that groundwork and that research. What are people putting into that top bar of Google? What are your customers looking for? And is that information in a clear, relevant, and quite brief way on your website? And is it readable by the search engines? Is it on that page? It's not hidden away. Is it easily navigated? Is it up front where somebody can find it, so therefore Google will find it and Google will like it? So search engines still need humans to like or want what they need, and they seek what you offer, and they gauge its popularity by how many people are visiting it, how many people are putting in those searches. A search engine optimization strategy is more than just the old-fashioned way of looking at meta tags, keywords, and use of Google Ads. It's about a vast array of things as well. And unfortunately, we haven't got massive amounts of time to go into that tonight, but I have pointed to some websites in this presentation where you can find out some more information about SEO. But again, that is the beauty of Google. We can use it to do that research, and there's so many informative articles on there. You don't have to pay some alleged marketing guru to take you through this for a one-day course. You can search this very easily yourself. What is it? What are the simple things I can do to my website to help develop how it appears in the rankings and where it's most relevant? But fundamentally, if you develop it with the user in mind and the customer in mind, you're onto a winner.
I think one of the places that important to, I know when I was looking for new business, was having that Google business spot. So on a map, you are pinpointed on a certain spot.
Yep.
So somebody knows that you're there when they're doing any type of search, and it could just be, how do I get from A to B? They see you, they know you're there, that you know your business and your driving instructor. So that's another good way, or very simple way of being found.
That's a good segue into this next thing. It's almost
Yeah.
like you read my
Oh, right,
presentation
okay.
or my minds. Thank you, Karen. You delivered that very well then. Yeah, exactly. So there is some free online resources that you can be using already. And again, sorry to those who I'm teaching to suck eggs here, but that's not everybody in the population that we talk to. And some people need some more guidance in this area. So some of the free webmaster tools that Google has that are really useful for any small business, not just a driving school. Google Places, that's the pin in the map.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to pay somebody to do this for you. It really aggravates me when I see these companies ringing up small businesses and offering to do this for them, or saying, we've already done it for you and now you have to pay us a fee. You can set this up for yourself. Just type in Google Places. It will bring up the registration. It will put you as the pin in the map. That does help your SEO. Google is recognizing that you've used its service, that you've mapped yourself, you've become more relevant to that local community. Other Google resources that go back to scanning and go back to research. Google Alert is a good thing to set up for any business. I have it for everything to do with driving, advanced driving, road traffic acts, young drivers. What setting up Google Alert does is it brings you news or mentions of your company name on a regular basis by email. It's the way that I'm able to scan for mentions of DIA out there, of Diamond, or anything to do with young drivers, older drivers, anything that's going on in the world on topics that interest me and what these guys do here. So any driving school, I would suggest, is a very simple task. Set up an alert for your company name, set up your alert for driving instruction in your area, set up your alert for things that you think are relevant, and it will show you things in the news, things from marketing campaigns. It's just an email coming into your inbox. You look at it if you want to, you don't if you don't. But it's really useful to give you information about who's using your name, what they're talking about, what they're saying about you as well. Google also has a website optimizer tool. Again, you'll find that on Google Webmaster Tools if you Google those. And those can help you and gives you some advice on how to optimize your website if you're managing it yourself. Clearly, some of you also have a maintained package if you have a website. Somebody is doing this for you. But the information I'm giving you now, even if you have a maintained site, is really vital in terms of you understanding what should be being done with your site for the fee that you pay to that person, and whether they're doing it or not. It gives you the information, the advice for you to understand what you should have in your package and what they should be doing for you. And it's healthy for you to go back to those people and ask them some questions from time to time about whether they're actually doing this for you, especially if you're worried that your website's not performing very well. Go in informed and armed with the questions and the information that they should be providing back to you, so they don't give you a load of old flannel about what their prop's not doing for you. Google Analytics is another tool there. That's if you want to get a bit geeky and have a look at how your website performs. That will take you to the back end of your website, and it will give you some information on who's visiting, where they're visiting from, how long they spend on your site, how many times they visited, so you can actually track some customer behavior about whether they like your site. Analyzing hits on your website, but time spent on your website is possibly more important, can show you whether what you're actually saying on your website is of interest. If somebody hits your website for a second and moves away, there's possibly an issue. And if that's happening on a regular basis, you might need to examine what it is that makes them move on from you very quickly. If they're spending some time on there with you, where are they spending some time? What pages are they looking at? And why are they spending time there? If they like what you're doing on those pages, maybe you need to do more on that as well. So the analytics help you develop your site. There's another form of SEO. So what I was talking about there, that a lot of that is about natural search engine optimization. Before I go into paid for, another couple of key areas to boost your website through the ranking. Some of the other things that Google likes are images. That's one thing that they actually like. Again, it's making sure you use the right images. You've got permission of student images to use. They like real people images to be used rather than stock images. But clearly you know that you must keep taking permission from your pupils to use their images, especially if they're under 16. It likes video. Google really likes video because human beings like video. We like to watch video. It's why YouTube is one of the biggest channels in the world of any broadcast nature, online or offline. It's why videos are used in a lot of websites, not just training websites now. YouTube is full of product how-to videos because people like to watch that kind of thing. So if there's any opportunity for you to film, use film from your onboard cameras, or even go to YouTube and take film from other driver trainers, or clips that you think are relevant to your audience from YouTube. It's perfectly acceptable for you to use those links on your website as well. And those could add some elements to your website that make them more interesting to the user, and therefore Google ranks you a little bit higher as well. But as I said, I know Google is being used quite a lot here, and I'm not a promoter for Google, but I think we all realize now that Google is like the predominant search engine in the world. Google about having to use all these different things to boost your website, because there's some really good information out there. You can pay to help boost your website, paid for SEO, as we call it. And that's about promoting your website and the visibility and increasing that through search engine results. Google AdWords is by far the most popular way of doing this. In a nutshell, what you do with that is you go to a dashboard. Very simple. Again, Google AdWords. It'll take you to the dashboard. It'll take you on that journey. You choose phrases and keywords most relevant to your product, service, or audience. Try and be innovative about this, but at the same time, try and answer the questions of what people are putting into search engines. It's got to talk about driving instruction in your area and the services you offer. And Google will push them for you through the search engine rankings. It's fraught in your marketplace because there's a lot of people doing it. So the innovation bit is quite important. But it could be worth spending some time on there, particularly if you go down more unusual routes like promoting postcode areas that you work rather than town names. It's something that I don't get a lot of instructors actually doing. You can control the spend as well. People talk about spending ridiculous amounts on Google AdWords and getting no return. That's down to you controlling that spend. It won't go and spend it unless you don't put a cap on the spend. And you can put a cap. You can put a cap on what you want to spend per week or per day or per month, and it doesn't go beyond that without sending you an email, without getting your confirmation you want to spend more. If you are doing a campaign that is unique enough, and there's not that much competition out there for what you do, so say you want to provide older driver assessments in your area and no one else is pushing that, particularly on the web, you might find that actually even a 1-month campaign and spending on a 1-month campaign can boost your SEO for months, because if no one else goes on board and no one else is aggressively promoting their website in this manner, then you could actually stay up there for a long time just for a few weeks spend. So that's why I say originality is quite important. You can pay for listings in other search engines. There's normally an annual fee for that. And there's also things like pay-per-click advertising, where other than just having your Google ad up there, you would have a fixed advert on there. And every time somebody clicks through to that, you are paying a nominal fee for that click to be generated that is ostensibly generating business to your website. Again, Google AdWords I would use in a campaign in a variety of marketing things that we do. I'm not sure that I would use very much paid inclusion and pay-per-click marketing as well. I'm not convinced, even after working a long time in different industries with different products, that they actually generate that much for you, that you couldn't do for free in other areas of just paying some attention to what's in your website and how people find you as well.
I think probably what's important is that you also encourage your students and clients to click onto your website, because that all helps to reach higher ranking. The more somebody's clicking in, the more somebody's looking, the higher up you go. I know that when I first had my website, it was very low, but over time you gradually see yourself sort of going up the rankings, and it becomes much more visible. And I think that's just purely because people were looking at it. It was encouraging students to go and have a look. People spending time just flicking through pictures and Facebook connections.
Yeah.
So that's also important, as well as the way you word things.
And we'll look later on at how obviously social media activity can also impact your web and how it can boost your SEO. But everything you do offline can drive traffic to your website. So I'll make the point now and I'll make the point again later. Those people who say you've got to have an online strategy, you've got to do online marketing like it's the only thing you do, you cannot just do online marketing. I don't care what business you're in, you cannot just do online marketing. And I work with some internet brands as well sometimes, and Amazon still markets offline, eBay still markets offline. We're talking about, in the press, on TV, on radio, Vodafone. All these people that have massive online businesses still have to go out into the real world to market what they actually do. So anything that you can do to get your name out and about in your local community or in the audiences that you want to, and get the web address associated with it, or at least get your name that they can type into Google and get you quickly, that's all going to push people to your website as well. And that's all free stuff. That's not the paid for SEO. Okay. To get your website seen out there more and to interact with your online community a little bit better, people need to be using their websites. Plonking a website up there and saying, job done, that's my online strategy, just doesn't work. And some big companies make that mistake as well. I'm not patronizing small companies. I see it in big companies too. So some of the things you can do to drive traffic online using online tools is emailing people and making sure that your website is clearly in there and actually making them interact with your website. Some tools that are on your website, a video for somebody to watch, a piece of advice that you want them to look at, a learning opportunity. Email them that with a taster, but actually make them go and get that from your website. And then they can see all the other things that you've got on your website as well, and they'll spend more time on it, and that'll help boost your SEO. It'll also mean people start sharing your website. If you've got interesting stuff on your website, just like when you put a post on Facebook or something on Twitter, people do share it. People start doing your marketing for you by sharing your information.
I saw today there was a really nice website. One of the driving instructors had directed me to have a look. And he'd done a really simple little YouTube clip, really, really simple. But it was introducing him, what he did, what he offered, just a very nice introduction. And I thought, I'd go to that instructor because actually he's really friendly and really lovely.
Yeah.
So it's something very simple like that, very, very small little clip. It's about a minute long, but it obviously did the trick.
We don't need to be Steven Spielberg to direct these videos. And the rise of YouTube has come out of the rise of amateur video. People actually like to watch real people doing real things. And those instructors that use video will testify to that as well. Look at the likes of Blaine Walsh, who are doing lots of video and lots of instruction. So I think, doing your own video, have a bit of confidence in your own abilities to both film it and execute the training you do every day in front of the camera. People love that kind of thing, and it makes your site more interesting. People will share it. That will boost your presence online. That should in turn lead to customers as well, so more people seeing you. E-newsletters are a great tool to also interact with your customers when they are not in the car with you. You have those lessons each week. There's stuff that you could do in between with people that's not too much time and effort, but makes them feel that they're part of your community and that you have a community to talk to. E-newsletters, really simple to put something together. It doesn't have to be the Sunday Times. It's just short bits of information about what you're up to, useful articles, seasonally related articles. I think,
it could be, special offers that you've got at the time. Maybe, you've got school holidays coming up. Maybe there's incentives there, particular promotion that you're offering at that time. Introduce a friend. I mean, there's so many things you can do. When people start talking together, they'll come and visit your site, and then it all grows.
And if it's a great offer, they'll forward it on as well.
Yeah.
And I think, don't be afraid to go and grab stuff from other people's site. Of course, copyright laws are in place. However, we designed the DIA website to make sure that any stuff that members want to grab, just give us a call. We're quite happy to share content with members, and if they want to use it on their sites, that's great. That's what we're here for as a membership body. But there's other places you can legitimately take information for. Actually, also, if you credit that website, you credit that organisation with the information with just a small, kind of line underneath it saying this was originally taken from here. Very rarely do people have a massive problem with their words being used, unless they've been taken out of context or used in the wrong way. If they've been used in a positive way to promote positive things, people really shouldn't be getting on your backs about you using them because you're promoting them too. We covered that point before about making sure your domain name is memorable as you whiz past, and linked with your actual business, because it does surprise me how many aren't linked with the business of driver training.
They're not the same name.
And some of the email addresses are go compare at Pufferfield got whatever, and you're thinking, how's anybody ever remember that?
Yeah.
But they've spent the time putting it on the side of the car, like somebody will stand there with a notepad and write it down.
Up-to-date information is really important. There's nothing more annoying than going onto a website and it's not up-to-date information. I think it has to be accessible. You need to be able to change stuff as well easily with your website. Make sure you factor that into the cost, because some companies will charge if you make changes, or you may choose to have the option to amend it yourself, which is even better because you can update things regularly. But that's something to think about as well.
And that's why we're offering the 2 packages there. So people can actually amend the sites themselves with training from us, or if they already know how to do that, they can pop their own photos up, they put their own videos up, they can change their text, or they can ring the office or email us, and then one of the guys here will do it, plus some advice about how to optimize that when it's been changed as well. That's really important. And Google likes an updated website. It doesn't like a human being doesn't like to go on a website and see that all the information is from 2008.
Exactly.
So it will push that website further down the ranking if it isn't updated regularly. It's not about being on there every day, but if you've got dated things on there, i.e. things that carry a date so people know you're out of date, or things that look dated, it's not going to be popular with the user, so therefore it's not going to be popular with Google either. Other marketing channels you can use to fuel your website and drive traffic to you are PR. What are you doing in your local community? Do you do anything to promote yourself locally at any time that you're doing anything like that? Use your website, get people to go there, tell them the information that you're giving them. They can get in more detail on your website and make sure that that information is actually there. Any offers and incentives, as Karen actually said, if you're promoting those locally, they should go to your website to get them. There should be an action that drives them to your website. Social media, which we'll talk about in a moment, and rich content is about everything I've just been talking about. Blogs, viewpoints, educational articles, videos, photos, how-to guides, apps, all of those things. Relatively easy to create in this day and age. Lots of guides about how to do it. A lot of it is free. I don't believe in lots of paying extras for these things to be done when you can do them yourself. And links to and from sites that your target audience use. That's quite an important one. How much time do businesses spend looking at where their audiences spend time? And that's just as important in the offline universe. Where is your customer? You should do that in the web.
And just keep, it's all very well doing your research as well at the beginning of setting up a website, but you've constantly got to keep refreshing what's out there, what's changed, what's new, and amending yourself accordingly, changing your website, making sure you're up to date. You may have an agreement with a sports club or a school where you've particularly taught lots of people. That's a really good link to have. Again, you can make sure there's offers there online, and that can bring in new business as well. There's so many things you can do, but I think being up to date is really important.
On the PR side and linking to local sites, with the problems of both the recession, but also the way that hit the media outlets are really suffering in terms of people writing for them. Kind of the news desks of old, where there was one person to every subject and there was lots of hacks sitting around, have got one person is probably juggling the sports desk, the agony aunt column, the horoscopes and everything else now. And so they are actually quite desperate for free writers. So going and offering yourself as a motoring correspondent or as a road safety writer, don't undersell your skills as a road safety professional. Driving instructors sometimes will get a bad press, but you need to market yourself so much on the ground as we will try to do at a national level, that you are road safety professionals and you are experts in driver training. And this impacts every single person who goes on our roads on 4 or 2 wheels every day, and also pedestrians as well. Writing some advisory pieces on motoring, on road safety, get your name out there in the community, and for that freebie, you giving your time freely to write for them, and you might have to supply some copy for them to see how well you write first, is you don't hesitate to ask that you display your website address in there for more information, or your email address. It's the least that they can do for you filling up their columns for them as well. And people started to see you as an expert opinion leader or an advisory source in your local community, even if it's in those small little mags that get pushed through your door. I'm a massive consumer of online media, but I also still read print media, and I do read those little community magazines that stuck through the door. They are always looking for writing, so have a look at who controls that magazine in the back, contact them and get on there and get writing some quality stuff about driver training as well. So, and blogs are quite important as well, but I also think people should get involved. I don't think it should just be about the trainer.
No, I think it's important to hear from them. I mean, anything you write, I've noticed that when, saying about Googling yourself, when you Google yourself, I've got in my previous life when I wasn't an instructor and I had another business, I still Google myself and see things that I said years ago. They still come up. So the more things you say out there, the more things that are going to come up on Google as well, and the more things that are going to be associated with you, and that you're up to date with things.
I've seen some fantastic examples on driving instructor sites of blogs by pupils where, you know, they've asked a pupil, a free resource at the end of the day, to write up their experiences either day by day or month by month on their driving lesson. And it's experiential, and customers like to see other people like them going through a process. So those will be popular. Google likes that as well, so Google will rank that higher. And, you know, your customers will have something interesting to read when they get there that is relevant to them. You can say you're brilliant at what you do, but a customer who says you're brilliant at what you do and describes their process with you is more compelling. So you should have a blog, but I think, you know, get your pupils writing for you about their journey as well. Video blogging, you know, definitely a good idea as well. If they could blog their journey by video, that adds more content to your site.
Maybe putting a short bit of the lesson onto a YouTube clip, you know, with that person's permission, if they're happy to do that. Another really, really good selling point, where people can see you actually in action, or that student enjoying the lesson.
And with onboard cameras filming quite a lot of your lesson, it's a matter of going through and editing what you've got on there, but it's fairly simple to put that online as well. Exactly. And as you say, as long as you've got the pupil's permission to do that, it's really important to get that, and written permission if you can do that. Even if it's just a form, keeping it on file, that protects you at the end of the day. Websites aren't just there to promote you, though. I feel quite passionate about this one. This is a missed opportunity for me a lot of the time with a lot of businesses. It's not just this industry. You see it with lots of different things. Your consumers too. You know, you're trying to get hold of a business. They never answer the phone. You go to their website and there's nowhere that you can go to get in touch with them and get any kind of response for them. So we see it that websites should also be a customer service tool. You can use your website to manage and increase the efficiency of your customer service. It can help you cut down on admin. You know, taking inquiries to your website rather than expecting somebody to ring your mobile and leave messages for you and wait for you to get back to them is kind of the days of old. If you're in the car teaching, you need some kind of personal assistant, and your website can, with certain tools, be your virtual assistant as well. It can help you market, but it can also help you capture those customers that you've been successful in promoting to. I think if you don't have some way of capturing inquiries when you're out in the car, then you're kind of marketing with a large net, but that large net has got a massive hole in the end of it that customers are just, you know, able to swim back out of.
I think it's just a case of making touch. Somebody will understand that you're working and you're busy, and after all, that's what you want to project, that you are busy, because a busy person is normally a successful person. But just to sort of have something very briefly that says, sorry, I can't take your call at the moment, sorry, I can't answer your email at the moment, I am actually on a lesson or working, but I will come back to you shortly and you will hear from me by the end of today. And that was probably the biggest complaint that I used to get as an instructor, was the people saying, I've left a message, nobody's got back to me, I don't know whether somebody's going to call me today. But just by saying, I will call you back at a certain time, or when can I call you back, that's enough to hold somebody for that little bit of time until you can get to them. And it may just be a case of finishing that lesson and just making that quick call.
I don't care whether somebody's got a full diary now, which is often the thing that we say, I don't need to do this because I've got a full diary. You might not have a full diary in 6 months. And actually, customers are the lifeblood of all of our businesses. So actually being able to manage them, being able to respond to them, whether we're going to service them now or we think we need them now, we might need them in the future, and being able to capture their details, which, to be fair, getting people to email you or capturing email information on the website is often a much more efficient and effective way of capturing data. Data is gold. We need to try and capture as much as we can so we can go back to those people when we haven't got a full diary. Websites can help you capture that detail by having an online inquiry form where people will send you their details and you can capture that as well. Our Find an Instructor driving engine will actually do that. It captures the people's details and then sends an email to the instructor when that pupil's inquired about them. So you've got that note on file rather than sometimes a garbled answer phone message, probably left by somebody like me who talks too quick, where you can't make out the phone number because of my Lancastrian accent as well, or what I'm asking you. At least that email function on your website helps capture that. A lot of instructors are starting to introduce payment tools online. I think that's great. I am an incredibly impatient consumer, especially when I'm online. I can move around the different shops online much quicker than I would on foot, and I will move out of your shop very quickly online if I don't like what you do. And I think a lot of consumers are like that now as well. If I can't pay how I want to pay, if I can't contact you the way that I want to contact you, and you don't have the information on your site that I'm expecting from you, I'll just go next door. And they might not be a good instructor, but they are good at marketing themselves on the web. Don't lose customers because of this.
I think people are nervous about putting their pricing on. They are nervous about sometimes doing that. But as you say, you're going to move away very quickly if you don't have that idea of pricing. If they want to come to you and the services you're offering are what they're looking for, they will pay that amount.
Yeah.
So it's really important.
Or giving an indication of price range,
exactly,
a
range,
or special offers you do from time to time. You've got to be talking about price in some way, not necessarily specific pricing, but Google, again, like a user, is looking for information, and that's one of the biggest search engine areas of looking for these kind of services, is the pricing of these services as well. You could be talking about on your website why you're not the cheapest and why you are the best and why you're worth the money, as long as you're giving those messages and you're talking about them, rather than having nothing on there at all about the key question your customer's going to ask. But yeah, certainly tools that you could use to capture business whilst you're away using your website are things like payment options, so people can pay you online for lessons, and also online booking.
Yep.
There's a bit of a fear factor with online booking, and I think that comes from some myths that exist about what it is. Some people have said to me, I don't want something controlled in my diary. No, this is about you controlling your diary yourself. Online booking tools, if you haven't already seen how they work, and some people might be online now and using them, are just about you being able to manage your bookings when you're not actually able to take them yourself. Most systems work on the thing that you should be showing the free spaces in your diary and updating that on a regular basis. That booking engine looks at that, shows to the customer only your free time, and actually it's not just a time that you're teaching you should be blocking out. You've got to obviously block out time that you don't want to teach, so private time you're on holiday, things like that. It's only going to show the open slots for business. It allows the people to book, but actually most of them will not confirm the booking at that point unless you want an instant confirmation service. It will send you an email and ask you to confirm it, and then it will confirm it back to your pupil. And that is exactly like a lot of hotel engines work now. You can, as I say, use the instant availability thing, but you have to be managing your time slots very well to be doing that. You need to be happy to have instant booking. But if you don't want to do that, it's a process where you have to confirm every appointment that's booked in before the customer's actually confirmed. But I think it's a great way of using the web.
It's capturing that information, and for those people that are very instant and they want something quickly, they know in their head they've booked it, it's done, and then it's just a case of confirming that. And if you do have to change it for whatever reason, it's much easier at that point because you've actually got them there as well.
If you look at the hotel industry, hotels that do not have booking on their site really do struggle to compete in this marketplace. It's not just about are they on bookings.com and late rooms and that's why they don't compete. It's actually about whether they have an instant booking tool on there that people can get hold of, some information about whether there's availability. They don't necessarily need to book straight away, but they like to know whether there's availability. And there's quite a few hotel businesses that all have closed down or struggled because they didn't want to move with those times what customers wanted. We would also suggest that you don't just use the web as a marketing tool, you use it as a learning resource. I'm just going to trip through these quite quickly because I'm aware people want to get onto social media as well. Being a regular feature in your pupils' life is quite important. We know that attrition can happen. We know that pupils can come for a few lessons and then disappear off into the ether. Using the web can be a way of retaining customers as well as recruiting them. And help you being a regular feature outside of the car and the practical lesson. It can help you communicate with pupils and parents. You can use social media to send some messages out to your community and interact with, but I would always try and draw them back to your website because that's your unique portal on the web. Facebook and your page on there is not so unique. You're limited on what you can do with it, but your website is where you can post your stuff, you can move it around, and people can interact with you there. As we said, you could be drawing people there with emails, with tips and links and extra lesson information. You could send e-newsletters. You could be blogging it, tweeting it, pinning it on Facebook to get them there, but get them there somehow and have some kind of learning going on there. There's tools like MailChimp, which are free or low cost, which help you put together these regular emails. You could have your own forums, web chats, and webinars. We use GoToWebinar. As a fairly low volume user, you could probably use it free. We have to pay for this service because we're a very high volume. We have hundreds of people on our webinars each time. But there are versions of webinars that you could do with your pupils yourself, and forums. And these tools, we're spending some time researching them and see how you could use them to get people to interact with you online when they're out of the car. If you create this community of learners, it's almost like the Kevin Costner Field of Dreams analogy. If you build it, they will come. If you do build something great, people will come, and it will attract new punters as well.
And youngsters talk, don't they? They all like being online, so it's a really good thing to do.
And it points to the difference between different instructors. I think if people have got a really interactive, communicating, blogging, running learning sessions online instructor, that clearly makes them stand out about the person who just drops them off, picks them up every week, and that's the end of the contact.
It shows an interest as well. You're following up on how they even did on their last lesson. How did you feel at the end of it? How did it go? Any concerns, any worries? You're communicating, and often people get out of the car and they think, oh, we should ask that. So you give them the opportunity to communicate with your further, really.
And that's how people are communicating these days. It's a shame that we're not doing it all face to face, but we are doing it, online all the time.
It's real life.
E-surveys are really important as well. If you've got a website, do some surveying about whether people actually like what you're doing and how you're doing it, but also use your website to do regular surveys, or on Facebook about how they're doing, how they're finding the learning. Get some information about how your community of pupils, whether they're struggling with certain aspects. It gives you information, but it helps you interact as well and communicate with people more regularly. The only thing I would say is beware of over communicating. We all know those websites, we all know those organisations that over communicate. We could be guilty of that at times, but nobody has a gun to your head to open an email that goes in your inbox. Some people want more communication, some people don't. You just learn and judge over time.
Some things not appropriate some things need to be private. If somebody has a problem or a complaint or something like that, you need to take it away from those kind of social sites and pick the phone up and talk to somebody or go and see them. They're not appropriate in those situations.
Exactly, it doesn't replace all. Okay, I'm going to quickly run through this, but actually it's more of a read this information because there's so much here. I'm answering a specific question with this. Mobilegeddon is what the industry experts are calling this announcement by Google that by April 21st, you better have a mobile optimized website or else. It isn't. The Mobilegeddon is a tongue-in-cheek reference to Armageddon, because too many people are dramatizing what's going to happen here, like the world's going to implode if you haven't done this by April 21st. Yes, Google is bringing out a new algorithm which will look at which websites are best mobile optimized. More than 60% of all Google searches now are performed on mobile devices. So if you cannot be seen on a mobile, if your website can only be half seen or only your logo visible, you're not competing in the world that your customer is actually looking at you more. So it's about getting yourself ready. No one knows for sure, though, what Google will be doing. So there's a lot of experts out there talking about this at the moment, but it hasn't been released, this algorithm, yet, and it will only be when it released we'll understand the impact of it. But around 21st, Google will start rolling out across the world a new algorithm which will look at how mobile friendly your website is, and then it will rank you accordingly. It won't kick you off the website. You won't die. Things won't explode. It is actually just something that will be quite gradual, and you will see that if you don't have a mobile friendly site, unfortunately you are going to go down the rankings. But do not pay somebody who calls you up thousands of pounds to solve this problem for you. That is a scam. That is somebody trying to quickly make money out of you and using scaremongering tactics to do it.
I think if you've got any concerns on this subject, as we can't go into it in lots of detail tonight, it might be best to give us a call on the help desk. More than happy to talk to you about some of those concerns you might have on this particular subject.
Yeah, there are some tools here though, and there is a caveat. If your site's already mobile friendly, you don't actually have much to worry about. If you've already bought a mobile optimized site, or you actually used a package in the first place which automatically made your website mobile friendly, which is most new websites will be mobile friendly, you don't need to worry so much. I mean, I'm hoping that people do check how their website does appear on lots of different screens. If you pay for a website to build or you build it yourself, the first thing you need to do in that testing process is go and look at it on lots of different handhelds, lots of different tablets, and lots of different PCs. Ask your friends to look at it, ask family to look at it, ask pupils to look at it, and make sure it's viewable on lots of different devices. But if you've bought a website recently or you've done one recently, I think you'll probably find you are mobile friendly already.
Some of the colours can be vary as well if you look on certain tablets, don't they? And phones. So that's worth checking as well to see if it comes out the way you want it to.
Yeah, and also sometimes people have been sold mobile optimized sites that actually show the homepage in great detail, but actually not the pages underneath. So somebody's done a lazy job of just doing the homepage, but not the rest of it. So make sure every key page on your website is mobile optimized. There's some tips there, some recommended tips. Have a look at those, but also, again, sorry to keep Googling you, but Google it. That's what that massive resource is there for. We don't need massive amounts of marketing experts to tell you this because that charge you money. There is free resources on that web that will already do it. And that's what we said about checking your individual page of your site to make sure it's mobile friendly. Sorry, this is quite small print here, but there's some articles I found online that are quite useful. The Definitive Guide to Mobile SEO. So that's about how do I make my website work well on mobile searches. The key ingredients to winning mobile content strategy. They sound quite long-winded titles. They're actually snappy things because this is the web. So these articles are very snappy. And that web link I've given you there is the Google Developers Guide. That is a forum that you can go to. It's got all Google's tools for checking your website. On there, you will find a tool which will look at your website and find out whether it's mobile friendly or not. You can use yourself. You can use it free. these companies will try and say they're doing a service to look at your site for you. They will be using this free tool, so you can do it yourself. So have a look at those tools, and it will also give you a mobile usability report. So it'll examine your website and give you a report in detail. And as Karen said, call us, email us. We have a full-time developer designer here, Matt. He's very friendly. He's very knowledgeable. He's the cutting edge of what's going on out there. He works on our websites. And he works on other sites as well. So Amy and Karen, all of us are very happy to give this advice as well. But it's a don't panic message. The world will not end. Mobilegeddon is a joke because it's not going to end like they're saying it is. And don't fall into the hands of scammers trying to charge you lots of money on this one.
It's a bit like the Millennium Bug, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, a massive opportunity to earn money from consultancy. Okay, we're just going to go quickly into social media. I know this is a huge area of interest to people. People are doing it, but they're not sure whether they're doing it right. They're not sure how much time they should be spending on it, what they should be doing. Nobody's got the perfect formula. It's a growing media. There's new stuff coming along all the time. Anybody who claims they're an expert, I'd very much doubt that, because as I said before, the people who even work for these social media channels are learning all the time as well. So we're all learning together on this one. Why do we use social media? It builds real connections. It's social interaction. It invites participation. It's not just a static site. It's inviting you to get involved, delivers good messages to your audience, gives you a presence online, creates a community around you so you become a community resource, and it helps you be creative as well. Some people actually just have a Facebook page these days. They don't bother with a website. There's pros and cons of that, but that is something that some businesses are actually considering.
You just need to be careful with the Facebook side that you have a business page. Keep your personal and business separate. That's really important. Again, if you want any guidance on that, we can help you with that, but that's quite important. You don't want to share information that's personal to you.
Exactly. Or you don't want your people seeing the post about you saying went out and got backsided
in the bar
on Saturday. Don't think I can manage this driving lesson this morning. And I have unfortunately seen that post as well. And parents look at these things, or discussing pupils or parents in what is an open forum. Yes. You might think you've joined a closed forum. It's interesting the number of ADI forums are actually open to the public to view. They can't post, but they can certainly see what people are saying on there as well. So it's I would keep Facebook private and personal sites completely separate, and also do be cautious about what you're putting on your personal site. It's amazing how people can get into different social media sites via different ways.
Watch your privacy settings, and it's really easy to have a business Facebook page. You've just got to know where to go to set it up, but it is very
We've got some advice on that coming up, in fact. Okay. I'm going to struggle a little bit with the presentation because this was originally written by one of our social media gurus, so bear with me on this one. I do use social media a lot, but I'm going through their slides. This just shows you exactly all the ways that you can use social media: microblogging, instant messaging. WhatsApp is becoming very popular, and not just in the 17 to 25-year-old or 14 to 25-year-old age group. I've actually noticed a lot of people in my bracket, 40, just 14 February plus use WhatsApp incredibly regularly, and lots of people have been saying to me recently, send me a WhatsApp message with your address details. Music sharing, photo sharing, video sharing, all of this is going on in this community online. It's when do we actually even talk to each other anymore? So there's various different channels. We've got LinkedIn, Google Plus, Pinterest, Flickr, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. They're the most known ones. It's quite a difficult market for new ones to break into now, because these guys have got quite a lot of dominance, and they still are the ones that most people are on. There is a bit of a myth going on that Facebook is now just for us old people, and that all the young kids don't use it anymore.
But I think my nephews and nieces are still
using it. My nephews and nieces, cousins, from your pupils that they're still using it. I still think it's an important piece of social media. Social media, you can use it to promote your company. You can complement your online marketing. So it's one part of your marketing strategy. It's not the only part of your marketing strategy. Those guys that say, I get all my business from Facebook these days, I'm not sure that's a sustainable strategy to develop business. And you're only getting a certain type of customer, and they're finite. It's about looking where other people want to be and get your business too. It creates what we call viral marketing. Viral marketing is like gold. As soon as you can get something to go viral and get around as many people as possible, that's fantastic for marketing. Not so fantastic for a dodgy video you didn't want anybody to see. Offline marketing can be quite expensive and difficult to measure, whereas social media, there's lots of tracking, there's lots of impact. You can see people interacting with you online in social media in a way that you perhaps can't see when you're out there in the community marketing yourself. And the latest research is showing that more young people are spending less time watching TV and listening to radio. They are spending more time online. I don't think that's a shocker of a statistic there, but people are consuming more things online, actually holding things like smartphones and handhelds rather than being in a PC. So they're not sitting watching the TV. They're actually using these handheld devices.
Like all things, it's best not to have everything in one basket. Go to lots of different places.
Oh yeah, mix up your marketing strategy. Exactly. Yeah. So it's increased online visibility, as I said before, more links incoming, you can capture more data, you can capture more customers with social media, you can befriend people instantly, and you have a method of communication. Sometimes getting a phone number out of somebody or an email address is hard, but on Facebook people are really willing to interact with you, befriend with you, and open that channel of communication. It's about creating more views of your content, so you can't just have a Facebook site, just like you can't just plonk a website up there. It's got to be interesting, it's got to have interesting stuff. I think for a professional though, it's got to have relevant stuff. I don't want to know you had a tuna fish jacket potato at lunchtime. I really don't.
If you link it in from your website, you can see what's happening. It's more about what's happening on a day-to-day basis in terms of Facebook and some of these Twitter and things like that. They're instant things, and I see them a little bit more fun. It's something that's happening on a daily basis. LinkedIn maybe to your website. And then it keeps it a little bit professional as well, and then you've got your separate Facebook somewhere else.
And I think it's social media, it's about conversation, and people like to feel like they're in a conversation and one that they would naturally have with you. It's being aware of not being too salesy in your approach on social media. Fine on your website, because people are going to that website for a reason. On social media, they might have interacted with you on a recommendation from a friend, or they've seen something on your blog. It's not pushing massive sales messages down there all the time. It's fine to do sales on there, don't get me wrong, but you've got to back that up with some more interactive stuff that people want to see as well. So where to start? There's lots of things that you can do. Some of this covers things we've done already. Google Places, that's what we were looking at before. I'm not sure where that slide pops into that part of it. That's just showing you where Google Places actually brings you up. If you can see the map there with the pins on it, that's what we were talking about before. That helps you appear, quite high up on search engine rankings because you're already in a Google pin. So we just nipped back to Google Places for a moment.
If you hover over the pin, for those people that don't know, it's very easy to see who's there, in what area.
And they're reflected down there.
Exactly.
Free, get it done if you haven't done it already, and don't let anybody charge you for that as well. I noticed that scam coming through on telesales recently. And that just shows how somebody's promoting their social media activity with their website at the same time. That's a great little website, actually. Slightly too small, the text on the front page, slightly too much text. You should be having 100 words or less on your home page there in terms of this text here. Google doesn't like more than 100 words in your what we call positioning statement or your elevator pitch. However, it's clear that I can go and interact with you straight away in lots of different ways on social media. I can contact you quite easily, and there's your phone number on there. I can find out things about price, but I can also look at you online as well and find out a bit more how you interact. And people will go and look at your Facebook page. I look at businesses' Facebook page to see what kind of people are interacting and what they're saying about your services.
What's going on, just a day-to-day thing. What was the last thing you did? Where were you last? Where was your last lesson?
So these two things need to link really closely together. They need to be giving the same message about what you do. In every instance of online marketing, you can't have a fantastic website saying you're brilliant, and then on your Facebook page you've got lots of negative comments, or you're behaving in a negative way as well. It is a bit of a thing about the time. I mean, we've really spent an hour just on going through half of the things that you can be doing online, but it can be time consuming, and it's about managing the time. Those of you who are already doing this will recognize this, that you can spend so much time on the web, and sometimes look at ADI forums and think, does some of these guys actually ever do any business? Because they've been on here for like till 4 o'clock in the morning. From 4 o'clock in the morning the day before. But it's spending a little bit of time, little productive bursts of time on there. Monitor the web, have things coming to your handheld mobiles. Why say use things like Google Alerts? Have everything that you're doing on the web coming to you on your phone so you can flick through that. Participate in discussions, but don't get too involved in them. There's dipping in, there's dipping out, and letting other people have a voice as well. Post articles on blogs, we'd say a maximum 3 times a week, and sometimes once a week is great. And review your time and see where it's been productive. You could be spending all your time in the world on there, and you're not actually getting anything in terms of business from that. And you need to review what you're doing, whether it works, and whether you're spending too much time on there, and that's at the cost of other things that you could do. Commenting on other people's comments and blogs is a way for people to start seeing you and your personality and your views, as well as posting those on your own.
Maybe if you see somebody new on the street, it's a good time to Google them, find out what they're doing, find out where they're getting the new business from.
Exactly.
You may be missing something.
Setting up your Facebook and business page and Twitter profile is quite easy. businesses, brands and organisations have to use the Facebook page feature that is for businesses. You shouldn't be setting up your business under a personal profile. You do need a personal profile page. Well, you used to. I think that's changed now to set up your business page. I think you can go straight into putting your business page together.
Can
now.
you? When I did it, I had to have a personal page to set up the business one. I'm not
possibly
sure.
Still exists.
Something I can find out.
Facebook has just changed all of its terms and conditions, and we all blindly tick yes when they do that. We could be committing to give 20% of our income to Facebook for the next 20 years every time we do that, but we do it. So just be sure of the T and C's on that, and make sure that you are promoting yourself in the right way. Facebook has got some useful information, but it's quite long-winded. I would actually Google this again. I would Google how to use Facebook for a small business, or setting up my Facebook page, and get some tips from some of the well-known sites on there as well. Your profile page won't be displayed on your business page. It's just for the purposes of setting up your business page. And your timeline of brands, the timeline of what you're doing on your business page is separate from your personal timeline. So we shouldn't see the issue. If you set it up in the right way, you shouldn't have the issues of the things that you do in your personal life being displayed on your business profile. You just need to have that other profile set up first. This is a page that you go to when you go into Facebook to create a page. So you can click on the local business or place or company, organisation, institution. You can promote yourself as a brand or product, or you can go for specific categories like cause or community, entertainment, artist, band or public figure. So spend some time surfing around the categories and think where is the niche or the gap place for you. Have a look at where other people are placing themselves and decide where your brand, your company is best placed. Top tips. On your profile, you have the option to put 2 photographs, the big long photograph and the short profile picture. Choose a great image that reflects your brand creatively. Choose something that grabs attention for the right reasons, not your Magaluf 2009, getting drunk photos. I'm sure none of you would do that, but I have unfortunately seen those on professional user sites.
And not stock photos. They tend not to be, again,
they don't like those.
No, it's better to have real life ones. Go out and take some nice photos and use those. Really.
Definitely. Oh, pupil photos, again, as long as you've got the permission, they're happy to do that. That's fine. You can't have, in that big image that you have across there are some quite strict rules. You can't have the following: prices, purchase info, call to actions, prompt to buy, and prompt to like. So those big images that you have at the top of your screen really shouldn't include those at all. I think Facebook actually tries to stamp them out automatically, but you should be having them in there. Google won't like it either because it knows that Facebook doesn't like it, so it doesn't like it too. Use your company description wisely. Sound interesting. That sounds like sucking eggs again, but you've got to think about how you will appeal to your customer bases. Make sure if you're somebody, however, that is trying to appeal to a broad range of ages and customers, you reflect your diversity. The one thing that people often say about driving instructors is, they just teach 17-year-olds, don't they? They don't realise the breadth and diversity. And you as an individual instructor might find that problem sometimes. They see the L plates and they think they mean in one age group. So making sure that in your website, on your Facebook page, you've got like seconds to get that elevator pitch, as we call it. Elevator pitch is basically imagining yourself in an elevator with your key customer or big decision maker. You've got that elevator ride, the time that takes to make that pitch. That's just like any pitch online. You've got a very short time to get your message, your brand, and what you're about across. Setting up apps, especially maps, to appear in local Facebook searches and Google Places is quite important. There's quite a lot of tools on Facebook that can help you build your Facebook profile, but they can also help your SEO generally as well. And your photo app will display the last photo you posted. So changing regularly is probably quite a good thing so people see a more recent picture. You can analyze it so you can see what posts are popular. This is behind your Facebook page. Have a look at this information. Analytical information, evaluation of your marketing is as crucial as developing the marketing in the first place. If you don't know whether it's working, you don't know what impact it's having, you're going to make decisions about doing it again that might be misinformed. So understand whether what you're doing is having an impact. Review your posts, see what your fans are active online, see what other Facebook pages you should be engaging with to promote your site, and schedule your posts to appear at popular times. Again, it's about being at the office. You can schedule your posts. So if you know that your audience is online at 4 o'clock in the morning, talking about 17-year-old boys mainly here, you don't want to stay up till that time maybe to post things. You can actually appear in their timelines as a new post at times that your customers might be interacting as well, but you don't physically have to be there to do that. And that makes you look like you're quite an interactive person whilst you're actually snoozing away. That just shows some data. That's not recent, that's a lot less recent, but that shows some data that sits behind our website in terms of activity. And it shows you what kind of things do well on our website. As you can see, that's a snapshot from 2014. It shows you which posts and which articles we've had on our website, and it shows you, what's been the interest in those in terms of visits to that link. So just look at here. We posted something in January last year that Metro London are writing an article for older people learn to drive, looking at case studies. We had quite a lot of comments on that. We had a lot of visits on that, and the reach was quite good on that as well. We had the option to boost the post. So if you look at what's working well, you can use this function to do more of that. You can boost that post to make sure more people see it as well. So understanding the impact of your marketing gets easier every day online. There's more tools, and it's our strong recommendation to start understanding that and using them yourself. Use timeline effectively. The timeline is meant to promote a brand journey chronologically, so making sure that you look up to date, that things are happening in a chronological order. That's what customers are looking for. You can add stories retrospectively, i.e. after they've happened, but people are looking for things to happen in a natural order, so being updated regularly as well. Do more with your posts, including features like pin to top and highlights. So you have this option within each post. What do you want to do it? Do you want to highlight it on your page, so when people visit your page, a particular post is shaded in a different box or pops out at people, or you can hide them if you want to post to disappear at certain times as well. On your timeline, you can also add landmark events. So say you were doing an online seminar, you could post that on your timeline and show that that was an event that was upcoming for your users as well.
And encourage people to like you, try and get people to go in and have a look and to, like or put a comment. Often they do. I know when somebody pass, you get a stream of people commenting on that pass and somebody.
Yeah, encouraging people when they're passed to go on and like you and pass on that information as well. Yeah. They're your biggest ambassador. They're very happy with the appointment that they pass, so I would definitely get them to do some of that work. Once you have a certain number of likes, you can change the URL of your Facebook page. So the unique address for your Facebook page, which is great for your search engine optimization. It can only change once, however. So this is about creating something like facebook.com Start Driving Less Croydon, whereas before you might have been harder to find. You could have your own unique Facebook page URL, but you've got to have a lot of interaction before Facebook awards you the status to be able to do that. Again, Google the information about how you can do that, and there'll be some clear direction about tips that you can do that. And those apply to any small business or anybody who's looking to boost their profile. So take advantage of other people's advice on that one. There's lots of apps that can add functionality to your page. If you've got apps or you know of apps that are being used by your student, I know that RoboSoul, Neil Beaver develops quite a lot of good apps, and there's lots of things out there. Putting those apps on your website or your Facebook page or on Twitter can help draw people to you. It's not necessarily your app or your product, but if people come and look on your site for it or your Facebook page, they'll see all the other lovely and exciting things that are happening there, and they'll stay there, befriend you, and start interacting with you too. We've grown a lot of our audience online through our social media activity. Again, that's just showing that the different things you can use on Facebook. So all your social media channels can work well together, and there's even tools that manage all your tweets and Facebook posts and everything you're doing together, and allows you to post on multiple sites. So cutting down your time on social media is important. If you've got one message to send out and you want to get it out to all of your social media channels at once, things like HootDeck and TweetDeck and all those kind of things, again, Google them. These are tools that will let you post in multiple places at one time and means you spend less time on it but have more impact. Sharing links and posts drives traffic to your website. So interesting communications, interesting articles, you can, if you think our articles are interesting, you can retweet those, you can Facebook those for your pupils. That helps drive people to you as well. They read something interesting, it doesn't necessarily be for your stuff. They will share that with other people as well. And that will bring people back to your website, not necessarily the site from which you got the information there as well. Top tips on what to post: news articles, sharing stories, tagging users. People love to be tagged for some reason. I'm not particularly fond of it.
I've never really got that.
No, that's because my friends delight in tagging really old pictures of me or ones where I don't look as good as I think I should do, which are probably more realistic pictures of me. But tagging users, particularly young people, they like to be tagged. They like to share pictures that they've been tagged in. It helps spread awareness. Having engaging and visual content, so things that are interesting and amusing, things that are very visual like videos, inviting other people to post on your page, run surveys on your page, start a debate, ask people's opinions, get people into a conversation, and it can really go places, including developing new customers for you. Like other relevant businesses and pages and ask them to like you. It doesn't just have to be pupils. Go and talk to other local community businesses about helping to promote each other online. They need customers, you need customers. There's partnerships in your local community where you are physical providers of services, but you could also be promoting each other online as well. Twitter is great. It's becoming more and more popular. It's never replaced Facebook completely. Some people still not sure what they're doing with Twitter, whereas Facebook's easy to use. Twitter, in essence, is microblogging. It's not just making a post, it's about giving opinions. And it's microblogging because you're limited to 140 characters. It gets dropped into a feed for your followers, so people can automatically see what you're thinking and reading, and it sends those updates to people's phones. It's for creating communities and joining communities. It's for engaging with stakeholders. It gets news out quickly. It encourages debates. There's so many uses of Twitter, though it has its downfalls, as we all know. Those tweets that people didn't mean to send, or those sentiments that they tweeted at 2 o'clock in the morning are as negative as much as positive about Twitter.
Yep.
It started out simple. It's founded in 2006. Started out as a text message service, really. That's why it's quite short communications, allowing us to quickly communicate with small groups. That's kind of what WhatsApp is doing now. Since then, we've evolved into global service. Twitter is a global service, but it still brings people closer together, as it said. It's still a very personal form of communication.
It's very quick though as well. I mean, I've used it once or twice. Sometimes when somebody's cancelled me on a lesson or something very quick has happened, I'll say, look, I've got a free hour.
Yeah.
If anybody's interested, anybody out there wants a lesson, let me know.
Yeah.
Give me a call.
And that's an excellent way of using it.
It's a way of getting that business. It doesn't always work, but on those couple of occasions, people come back and say, yeah, I'm free, I'm at home, I'll have a lesson today, which is great.
If you've got a community of customers already following you and you want to fill a space or you want to create an offer, that's a really quick way of getting that community to interact with you as well. Notifications like I just ran my car off the road, or somebody just ran my car off the road, the car's out of, sorry to everybody, but I'm not going to be able to teach today. If you simply can't ring around all your customers, that message can get out there quite quickly. So when you have new customers, encourage them to sign up to your Twitter and Facebook feed, because it can save you a lot of pain in doing communications to your whole customer group at the same time as well.
It could be something about the weather that day. If the snow is forecast for snow, just letting people know, look, we are going to still go ahead with the lesson. Not 100% sure, but I'll let you know if I need to come back to you.
Yeah.
It's informative and it's quick.
The big difference though with Twitter and Facebook, I don't think some people sometimes realise, is that in Facebook, if you want to go find somebody, unless they are allowing you to be your friend or they have an open profile, you can't see what they're writing. With Twitter, I can put anyone's name into Twitter and I can see what they're tweeting. They might hide some tweets, but I can more or less see. So if you're stalking someone, it's quite useful. But you can find somebody quite easily on Twitter and read everything they're saying. And I do wonder sometimes whether people realise that, because they post on Facebook and then they think, right, that's good. All my friends can see it, but no one else. They post the same thing on Twitter without possibly realising that message is going out to the whole world, unless you've specifically hidden it.
You just have to be careful what you say on Twitter and just keep it short and sweet.
Twitter has an official tutorial if you haven't set yourself up yet to show you around the basics. You choose a profile name. It's important for your SEO. Try and keep it to your brand. I know it's difficult. Your brand might already have gone, but just think about that profile name and how it relates to your overall other marketing channels and people being able to find those. And use target keywords in the app name. So something to do with what you actually do and something to do with your brand name is pretty damn important. And you might unfortunately have to play around if you've got quite popular names as well. You need to look at your niche areas, so it needs to reflect what you do. Have a look at what other people have got as Twitter handles already, and make sure that you can stand out or you're not going to be competing against them. And you can look at different things like different suggestions and surround yourself with relevant and useful followers for you and your followers as well. So some time researching what your name should be and understanding how Twitter works in terms of that handle as well is important. That's pretty common advice. Setting correct time zone, because every time you tweet, it'll go back to your time zone and location. So it's pretty odd if you have got the wrong time zone on there as well. And Google will be looking at what's your recent posting. So making sure that it's on the right timeline for you is important. You can write an effective bio, and that's quite important. This is the snippet that appears under your photograph on Twitter. Again, this is like the snippet that should appear on your homepage. It's the elevator pitch. Why should you bother spending time reading my Twitter feed is what this should be saying. And think that people are going to approach it with that cynicism that was in my voice then. If it just says Carly likes making toast and doing embroidery, I'm not sure I'm going to get that many followers. But if I say something quite snappy and exciting, in that biography, and it's relevant, if people realize in 5 seconds what I do and why that's interesting to them as a customer, then that's going to create more followers for you. Make sure your links to your website are clearly on there, because Twitter is about short form information and big, quick text. You want to do something more than that. You want to get something over. You need to be linking to things on your website. You can include photos and they include articles. You can link your website and other stuff in lots of different ways, but remember that it's very short form on Twitter, so you'll need to expand that otherwise else.
It needs to be easy to flip from one to the other, so you've got a website that flips very quickly over to a different channel.
Yeah. That thing that says only used for 8 characters or less of bio, or bio or less of bio, that's important. It's the kind of 50 to 100 character rule. It applies to Twitter, it applies to Facebook, it applies to your website. Be concise in your, what we call your positioning statement, your label on the world. It's got to be like a can of soup. It's got to be like the label on the can of soup. People have got to be able to look at it and go, I know what that is, and I know that I want to eat it straight away as well. And try and make it as unique as you can. Amy and myself, everybody else who's creating this office is always happy to listen to your ideas about branding. We're happy to look at copy. We're happy to look at your website and how it's performing. Just give us a call and we'll give you a view as a customer, because we're all customers as well, but also ask friends and family and ask pupils to look at what you're doing online. This is talking about being creative. Just aware of time now. I'm going to whiz through these and you can have a look at these in your own time, but just do some research. Top 10 tips to develop my Twitter profile. Whack that into Google. Top 10 tips to develop what I do on Twitter. These articles are really, really informative. I use them as a marketing person. I listen to other marketing people, and I find some really great stuff on the web that helps us develop what we do as a business as well. We don't pay expensive consultants to tell us to do that as well. Twitter language, again, some time spent researching what Twitter language means to get conversant with it so you feel comfortable using it and you don't make inadvertent rookie mistakes. There's some information there on the sides which will help you about the basics of Twitter. That just shows you some of the twittering that we do. We do quite a lot of tweeting, and we actually interact quite a lot with our members, but also some people who've got big Twitter followers. That's a good thing. If you can get onto a Twitter feed with someone who's already got lots of followers and you're trying to grow followers, get in on their action, say some interesting things, grab some of their followers as well. This is the lovely Mike Frisby. He's actually doing a live interview on that photograph, but we try and create media opportunities and have lots of media going on at the same time. So Mike might be in the studio radio broadcasting something, or I might be on BBC News doing something, but Amy or someone will be back in the office and they will be tweeting and Facebooking that as well. So that's what we're talking about, sewing all your online activity, your broadcast activity together so people can see you everywhere in their lives. Again, it's about Facebook. It's going back to that and tweeting. Use your timeline effectively. Read what other people are tweeting. Don't just broadcast. You've got to listen to stuff. You've got to read stuff. You've got to see what everybody else is doing rather than just constantly broadcasting. Retweet favorite stuff. Click on hashtags in your area and see what people are tweeting. People will follow you quite quickly on both Facebook and more so on Twitter if you're irrelevant, you're too dominating, or you're just boring, or if you haven't followed them back, it's a bit of a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours in Twitter. And you can keep track of followers and what they do on your site and what they do on other sites with little tools like friendorfollow.com. How to tweet. Read this afterwards if you've never tweeted before. Linda was my marketing manager at the time, did this in a roadshow last year, and we might do it in future roadshows on social media. A lot of instructors at that roadshow had never tweeted, and we did that for the first time in one of our roadshows, and people found that really helpful to do a practical tweet. It doesn't matter in your first tweet almost. It's just hello. You'll see that most people's first tweet are hello, I'm on Twitter. Isn't that great? It's just a practice, but as you get better, do think about what you're tweeting and how relevant that is. Again, using it 140 characters wisely. Just keep things short, keep things sweet, and keep things sharp is the order of the day in all social media and on your website as well. Get links on your your Twitter page, get them on your website, get them on your Facebook page, get everything interacting together so you've got a virtuous circle of people just spending time in your online world. Quick tips on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I think personally, is more usable and more profitable in terms of time spent for those of you who are trying to develop corporate contacts and trying to develop fleet work. There are some young people on LinkedIn, don't get me wrong, but people see it as a workplace in terms of somewhere they go to make contacts, to find jobs, to promote what they do, to talk about business and those kind of things. I use it to find contacts at companies.
I use it to network. I touch base with other instructors, people that I've seen out and about. It's a really good way of networking, really. Brilliant.
If you want to find out who's the fleet decision maker at a company, you can get on LinkedIn and you can find that person you find out their job title, you can inbox them. It doesn't need to say they'll inbox you back, but at least you can make that first contact. And if you've got a great LinkedIn page that makes you look professional and the person that they would choose to work with, then they're going to come back to you. I would look at the kind of people you're trying to target and mirror some of the things in your LinkedIn page that were appealing to them. But it's still not the most massive form of social media. It's still got its limits, but I still think it's a tool that's very useful for those looking to operate in that world.
And if it's very good for things like, I've used it quite a lot with instructors who've been in my area and they've made contact with me when they can't, perhaps they're no longer instructing or they can't take on a lesson, they'll come to me and say, can you help out? It's a really good, in that sense,
it's a much more professional world than Facebook as well. You don't get the kind of forum comments and discussions that you would get in Facebook, which sometimes can present a really shoddy image of the industry. I would never see that on LinkedIn because everybody knows it's a professional networking place and it's like putting on a suit and tie and going into the office. You know that you're going to have to behave professionally in that world. Further reading research, there are some great links there. Business.twitter.com, best practices. Marketing Donut is a site that I recommend. It's a site that's been set up to help lots of small businesses look at areas that they could grow their presence, not just online, offline as well. There's always new and interesting tips and techniques on there. If you just type in Marketing Donut on Google, there's also the versions, by the way, things like Legal Donut and Financial Donut. The donut refers to the fact that it's a big hub, really, and there's lots of information in it. So have a look at those because they've often got articles about top 10 search engine optimization tips, top 10 ways to get higher on Google. They've got really pithy, short and sensible articles about how you can do this yourself rather than relying on other people. There's also some good books like How Not to Suck at Social Media and Friends with Benefits, a social media marketing handbook. Again, but there's a lot of free downloadable stuff out there as well. Wouldn't recommend spending lots of money on books when Google could actually deliver quite a lot of information on this subject already. Quick one here. Thank you for staying with us all this time, by the way, those of you that have. Sorry we've gone on a bit, but there's a lot to cover here, and we'll break this down into areas of interest in future sessions so we can give you a bit more detail. Offline marketing is still alive. I think some people would have you believe that if you're not on the web, you're nowhere. There is a world outside of that window that's on your phone or on your PC. We all realise that as sane people, but sometimes people get hugely caught up with the web. The web is driven, your traffic is driven from offline as well as online, and your business is driven by offline marketing as much as it is online. And it's understanding where your business is coming from, which will help you spend more time in the right places and spend money, if you have to, in the right places too. Some of the local marketing things that you could be looking to do and are probably already doing here. So again, apologies if you already do this. This is about sharing tips with people who might perhaps not be as super marketeer as you are. Things like parents evening at local schools. My daughter's 4, so she's not the right age yet, but I was a marketing director for one of the largest further education colleges in the UK for several years. And I would open my doors to any business on parents evening and a careers fair too, because there's a lot of waiting around, a lot of parents and students waiting around to see actually the stands of the college or the A-level tutor or whatever. And people, when they're waiting, they will talk to other people. And so having a presence at those kind of events gives you a local presence and gets people to know who you are and what you do as well. So ring up student services, ring up the marketing director of your local college, ask them if you can come along to the next careers event. They'll be happening September through to November each year, sometimes in the spring in most schools and colleges. They have such a wide variety of people there. I'm sure they would be happy to have a professional road safety and driver trainer person there. Working with your local college anyway isn't a bad idea. I know a lot of you do this already. Working with the engineering school, the car mechanics area, when they're teaching part-time courses in things like car mechanics, they should be talking about road safety at the same time. Hook up with some of these people and use these channels to marketing that they already actually have. We mentioned local media as well. Try and get yourself as a voice in your local media. You are an expert. You have got information and advice that people should be using. So write about it and try and get a gig doing that. There's other people you should hook up with as well. We talked about local businesses before, how you can get them to like you on Facebook, tweet about you, Facebook you, but also you can be giving each other's flyers out in each other's
You
business.
never know when people are going to ask you what you do. Have you got any information on you? I always used to carry around business cards, leaflets, and say, here we are, this is what I do, and it will connect you to your website. So eventually it does go back to a website, but it's that initial contact. If you haven't got anything on you, people are unlikely to look you up later because they're not going to write it down.
Even if it's just a telephone number, your web address, you know, people need to be able to contact you in some ways. It seems really obvious, but the number of times that I've not had my business card as well, and I'm at fault, but it's really frustrating when you can't get that information and you've got a potential sale sitting there in front of you. Other traders and teachers in the community, you know, there's a lot of people out there who reach your audience, and, you know, perhaps are being paid more proud than you are sometimes to teach little Jimmy to play the flute. But if you can partner up with some of these people and put together a referral scheme where you give each other discounts, or you can offer discounts which is customers, or you can give each other cashback incentives for every new pupil that comes your way from them and vice versa, it's worth targeting those people as well. I used to spend a lot of time, sad as it may be in my 20s, going around local community groups to actually target new customers and to promote my business. Not my business, it was a local college at the time. And it's amazing the number of local community groups there are in every town that are very, very much alive and kicking and have loads of members.
There are loads. You just can't believe it when you start looking. And it's not always the obvious ones you want to target. Sometimes it's grandparents buying lessons for their grandchildren. Sometimes it's the older generation actually got more disposable income that they can then spend on doing other things.
Or they have conversations when they go back. You know, those conversations you see in adverts sometimes that don't look believable about two people recommending a product in the pub actually happen. We do go back. We know we do and have those conversations. And, you know, going to things like Women's Institutes, Rotary, Lions Club, Rotaract, look up your community groups because they will meet at least once a month. I think I'm right. You're a member of Rotary.
It's every week. So we're meeting every week, every Tuesday. You're talking every week to 40 people. All those 40 people have grandchildren. They have
businesses.
They
are drivers. They have cars. They have people who drive for them for business. And they actually really want speakers, don't they? Because they meet so regularly, they want a new topic. Just like local associations want us to go along and talk all the time because they need variety. Local associations of any kind want people to come and talk to them.
Absolutely.
You know, you might see it's your time and it's like, oh God, I've got to go out into the evening. I've just done a full day's teaching. Unfortunately, it's an investment. It's an investment in marketing, and yes, it costs time, but it's worth that. We used to get a lot of inquiries. We were filling courses out of going and giving a talk to a Women's Institute about getting on the web. And things like that. So I think it's really worthwhile doing those local groups as well. And no one else will be doing it.
One person can do so much marketing for you. If you capture that one parent, that one person, they can have a massive impact on all those local people in the community.
It's creating word of mouth, the most powerful form of marketing there actually is, and it's a thing that we strive for. If we could bottle word of mouth and how to get it, and you know, kind of that would be worth millions of pounds because we could stop all the other stuff as well. Customers visiting regularly, you know, I have to wait in GPs, dental surgeries, you know, even hairdressers. There is a certain point to which you're waiting that you will have read every Woman's Weekly, even though you'd never touched that in a newsagent. You'll have read every Reader's Digest. You'll have read every poster on the wall. I know some GP surgeries can be quite nasty about not putting things up, but I think if you go in with a road safety message or a public health message, because let's not forget road safety is about public health, and you convince them and do them a pitch that you're there to promote safe driving, that's what you do, and make sure that your whatever flyer you're leaving echoes that as well. It's hard for people to argue with the good that you're trying to do there. You might be a private business, but you're providing incredibly valuable service that is needed in this country. So we're trying to get that through on a national level to some of the stakeholders we work with. But if you can do that on the ground as well, that's even more powerful. So think about where your customers might be visiting regularly and waiting. And don't disregard the idea of the good old-fashioned flyer or the good old-fashioned business card, because we all still pick them up.
Absolutely.
And we all still use them.
And don't give up the first time. It doesn't mean just because one surgery said no that you won't go to the next one. That will hold the key to
libraries as well. I'd say nurseries. You know, a lot of young mums learn to drive for the first time if they haven't driven already, and you know, there's a useful group to get into if you can, and lots of referrals. Schools presentations if you can get into. I know it's fraught. There's so many people going in and delivering road safety training. I get so frustrated at this when I go to government meetings with other road safety professionals, and they're talking about having got in with this schools group here, and you think, why is a fire officer going and talking about driver education? We're trying to campaign to make sure that you guys can get into schools more, or you can be heard in schools through some of the national stuff we do. But if you can get into your local school, if you can work with a school or a guides group or a scout, so tackle it from outside of school through things like youth groups as well, it's worth knocking on their doors to get some messages across as well. And if you've got a great interactive online presence that you can point them to and you can show them at your presentation, you get more people following you after that as well. Local road safety partnerships, they do a lot of defaulting to working with only the police or the fire service and people like that. And in some instances, they do a very good job, so I don't mean to appear disparaging, but I'm very passionate about the fact that driver training is somewhere they should be allowing more ADIs to step in. Go and point this out to your road safety partnership. Try and work with them in some way. I know a lot of you do this already. Look at ways that they can help you communicate. They will often have lists of all the local schools and are allowed to mail all the parents and school children as well. If there's a way that you can get in and promote your services there or work with them, that's great exposure for you. And speak to us. We are here to offer advice on how you market yourself individually, not just give general presentations like this. There's lots more we could cover tonight. If we only had, a lot more time, or possibly a lot more succinct presentation, we could get these messages to you, but we're always happy to talk to you one-on-one. The other thing is referral schemes. I don't believe the number of businesses that don't actually have a referral scheme. It's not cheeky to ask somebody to make a referral for you. If you feel more comfortable, you could incentivize that referral. If you look at who recommends people to you on a regular basis, giving them a bottle of wine or a bunch of flowers occasionally to reward them for that will mean that they'll do more of that. So track your referrals. Who is referring you? What are you getting out of that? And go and look after those people to make sure you do more of that. But make the ask. Every time you pass someone, every time somebody does well in your car, ask them to recommend you, or ask them to give you the email addresses of people, or Facebook of people that would use your services. And your car, that's another thing that you can't neglect offline. Is that the best advert for you? Plonking the top box on with L plates on doesn't mean you're visible in terms of a driving instructor. People will not see who you are if you haven't got some branding or a phone number or a website they can get hold of. And we like to see well put together brands. We like to see more than just an L plate. We like to see some difference in what you actually do. So have a look at your car and wonder to yourself whether that's your best mobile marketing unit, and it's a great way of people seeing who you are and getting to see more of you by being able to contact you. Huge online brands use plenty of offline markets, so you can't just do it online alone. And the last thing we'd say on this is whatever you do in terms of marketing, evaluate it and research it. Ask people where they heard about you. I know you probably do this, but put that down, track it down. Have a look regularly at where your best source of inquiry and business is coming from and try and do more there. But also look at where you're not getting business from, that you're spending time and money, and cut that spend or learn how to do it more effectively. Look at the local market. Look at what people are providing locally in terms of driving instructors and see where the gaps are and the sweet spots. See where they're not getting their message out that you could, or see if there's services that you can provide and you can market better than they do, and so you can get more of that business. If you can fill the gaps is the question. You might always be the most appropriate person to fill the gap when you do a gap analysis, or it might be that you're not getting your messages out there and that's why people are missing you in the gap as well. Diversifying in a crowded marketplace, or at least appearing to be versatile, is really important. If you are not just an L plate instructor in terms of 17-year-olds, but you do lots more, but your website is full of young images or just L plates being ripped up and that typical learner driver, people aren't going to get that you're versatile or that you can diversify into other drivers. So make sure all your marketing reflects the diversity and breadth of what you do. And regularly evaluate everything you do in terms of marketing. Have a look at yourself, have a word with yourself, and make sure that what you're doing is where you should. Or have a word with somebody else who can give you a bit more of a view on whether you're doing well in terms of marketing. And I think that's it for us now. Sorry, we've gone over quite a bit.
Yeah, some things we can't go into too much detail, but you're always welcome to call us and we can talk you through some of these options in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, I mean, what I tried to do is cover off a lot of the questions we had beforehand in that presentation, hence it got a lot longer than it was originally. But if you've got some more questions now, or you've typed them in as we go, I'm very happy to answer them. Building a website with a DIA and updates done for you. What sort of updates do you mean? That's a question from Jimmy. And what we mean by that is, Jimmy, is on the new website service that we've got, is that you can either buy a site from us, which we will design and build in consultation with you, and we deliver that website to you and you manage that yourself with some training from us. We show you how to update your site, add new photos, add new content. Or there's a second option where we design and build a website in consultation with you, and then we manage that site for you. So we keep it on our secure server, we look after it, we regularly maintain it, we make sure it can't be attacked by anybody outside or hacked into. But we can also do things like post new photos when you want us to do that, change your text, change your logos, change your contact details, anything you want changing on this managed service, we do all that for you. So there's a lot of flexibility in that option. What about copyright? Yes, be very careful about copyright. Check the copyright of text that you might be copying and pasting over to your website. But and if there's a strong copyright on that piece of text, then obviously try not to use it. However, often you can use pieces of text from websites as long as you quote the source of the website and make sure it's clear that it's not yours, it's not your intellectual property, that you have borrowed it from somewhere. So including the link as well for that website is very important. This is from one of our members here. I'm using a responsive website that resizes depending on how it's being viewed, but Google doesn't recognize it as mobile friendly because it regards the text on mobile phones. So responsive sites don't appear to do the trick. Have a look at the Google usability guide if you haven't done that already. The one that's in the link on the presentation, that'll take you to all the toolbox that Google has to help not just the normal user, but developers themselves use that site. There is a mobile usability test on there, and it looks at your website and it gives you some tips how to amend it. But also you can have a chat with Matt on our help desk as well, or Amy. Give them a call and they'll help you much better than I can right now. And another question there. Would the DI, what's that one? How do you get a commercial page without it being linked to a private Facebook account? If you set up that business page problem in the first place, it shouldn't be linking to your personal account. So I will look into that and post an answer to that in an update to that, because I'm just going to check on the most recent terms and conditions. I'm being cautious here because I know Facebook has just issued a load of new terms. So I'm wondering whether that's impacting somebody's Facebook page and their profile page as well. How do we get access to the recorded presentation and the slides using the presentation?
Log into the DIA members area, driving.org, and click on the members area, and then it's on the members menu. All of our recorded webinars are on there.
And would the DIA give a critique on Driving School's website for members? Of course we would, and we would be very fair about that as well. I've often got members come up to me at roadshows, show me their website whilst I'm standing there, or asking me to Google them, and I often get sent them as links. So if you want to send the help desk a website to be critiqued, it gets sent out to the most appropriate person in the team to have a look, and we'll give you some bullet points back about what we think we could do better, and tips on how you can actually do that as well. Or we might say, that's blinding, keep doing what you're doing. What is your opinion on 03 numbers? I am not sure on that one. Is you talking about the telephone numbers that you can buy where you're in
special rate? I think it's a special rate you get, don't you, on the 03 numbers? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it depends on the actual provider of those and actually the cost of those versus what it actually delivers for you as well. I think, if you can get people to interact with you in most cost-effective ways via email, text, or via Facebook and things, I'd be looking to use those rather than paying for those kind of numbers. Thank you, everybody. That's it for this evening. Any further questions, don't hesitate to email us. help@driving.org is a good general address to get us all on. And keep doing what you're doing if you're doing it all very well, but keep using Google to help you. Thanks a lot, everybody. Good night.
Bye.